Padel players might be the best athletes in the world. And before you laugh, hear me out. Not because they're the strongest, not because they hit the hardest, but because they have to handle the most chaotic blend of demands you'll find in any racket sport. Reactive footwork on a 20 by 10 meter cage. Explosive overheads off a glass wall that just change the ball's trajectory mid-air. Repeated sub-second decisions about whether to play the bandeja, the vibra, the bajada, or the smash. Constant deceleration, lateral redirection, and rotational power for 1, 2, even 3-hour matches. And then they have to do it again 24 hours later in the next round. That level of repeatability doesn't happen by chance. It happens because the best players follow systems. And once you understand the system, you start to see why a 38-year-old still wins matches against players half his age. So today, we're breaking down the exact blueprint behind the freak athletes of Padel. And by the end, you'll see why one specific change saved Juan LeBron's career. Number 1. No sport prepares you for this. Padel sits in a weird athletic middle ground. It doesn't resemble tennis. The points are shorter but more frequent, and the lateral demands are far higher per square meter. It doesn't resemble squash, even though it shares walls. The partner dynamic and the overhead game make it a different machine. It is a decision density sport built on repeat reactive bursts in a confined cage. You need an engine that recovers between every 15-second rally. Rotational power that translates into bandejas, vibras, and smashes. Footwork that survives thousands of stop-start changes of direction. And a brain that keeps making clean tactical choices in hour 3 of a tight match. Which is exactly why the best players don't train the way you'd expect. Number 2, chase availability, not fatigue. Players like Galan, LeBron, Coelho, and Tapia aren't trying to destroy themselves all year. The Premier Padel and FIP calendar is brutal. Over 20 stops a year, often back-to-back weekends, with travel between Doha, Madrid, Buenos Aires, and Mexico City. If you redline the whole time, your career lasts about 11 minutes, so they periodize. The off-season rebuilds the foundation: posterior chain, single leg stability, shoulder durability for the overhead game. Preseason sharpens that foundation into Padel output, reactive footwork, multi-directional speed, rotational power. Then the season shifts to maintenance. Keep the explosiveness, protect the joints, survive the travel, stay ready for the tournaments that move you up the ranking. Here's the line that separates pros from amateurs. The best players don't chase fatigue in training, they chase availability. And availability gets tested first by the engine. Number 3, why long runs won't save you. When recreational players hear cardio, they picture long, boring runs on a treadmill. Padel cardio is not that. The average point is 8 to 15 seconds, followed by 20 to 25 seconds of recovery, repeated for 2 to 3 hours. The real question is this: how quickly can your heart rate settle between points so your legs can still explode laterally on point 180? That's why Padel conditioning has multiple gears. You build an aerobic base so the engine can absorb the work, and repeat sprint capacity so the explosiveness doesn't disappear in a third set. The best players don't use cardio to feel fit. They use it to stay sharp late and keep their decision-making clean when fatigue tries to make them play the wrong shot. Number 4, the gym trap. Most amateurs think gym work means bigger lifts, bigger arms, harder smashes. Padel has no interest in any of that. Every extra kilo of body weight has to justify itself because it costs you in lateral movement and joint health. Padel-specific gym work revolves around what actually transfers. Single leg stability for defending off the side glass. Anti-rotation core work for rotational shots. Shoulder and rotator cuff endurance, because the overhead game is far less forgiving on the cuff than tennis over time. Rotational power through cable and medicine ball work. Plyometrics for explosive first steps. 3 sessions a week in the off-season. 1 or 2 short prehab heavy sessions in tournament season. The gym makes paddle movement better and injuries less likely. Nothing else. But strength alone doesn't win a point at 5-5 in the third. For that, you need movement. Number 5. Learn to stop. Win the cage. Paddle movement is its own beast. The court is small. The walls are everywhere. The ball changes direction off the glass. The first step has to be explosive, and the deceleration has to be immediate, because you cannot run through the back glass. Top players train lateral coordination, split-step timing, and re-acceleration under fatigue, because the entire game is a cycle of push, stop, read the wall, and redirect. Every one of those stops gets felt in the knees, ankles, and lower back, which is why the next pillar isn't optional for anyone who wants a long career. Number 6, service daily, not patched up. For the top of the rankings, recovery isn't something they do when they're sore. It's a daily system. Mobility work in the morning, physio at every tournament, prehab for the shoulder and lower back, sleep discipline on the road, and intelligent load management around tournament blocks. Players who skip this don't get to age 35, still winning titles. Players who commit to it do. Belasteguin's longevity wasn't an accident. Neither was Sanyo Gutierrez's. The body that survives a 15-year career at the top is a body that gets serviced daily, not patched up after it breaks. Number 7, the LeBron lesson. Once you've built the body to survive, you still need to fuel it. The foundation is simple. Carbs to perform across long matches, protein to repair the constant micro damage of the overhead game, hydration and electrolytes, because paddle is often played indoors in hot conditions, and the sweat losses are bigger than most people realize, and familiar low-risk foods around match days. But the real story here is Juan LeBron's. For years, LeBron was one of the most explosive, most aggressive players on tour. He was also one of the most injury-prone, with chronic lower back and abdominal issues that kept costing him at the moments that defined seasons. The pattern wasn't a single injury, it was the way his body kept giving him warning signs. So he and his team reworked everything. Conditioning got more measured, recovery became non-negotiable, nutrition got cleaner and more personal. The takeaway is the same one Djokovic taught tennis a decade ago. At the very top, nutrition and recovery are personal. There is no universal protocol. There is only the discipline to pay attention to what your body is telling you and the willingness to change. Number 8, the freaks aren't freaks. When you zoom out, the pattern is clear. The paddle athlete isn't luck. It's a system. Train to peak, not to punish. Build an engine for fast recovery and repeat burst output. Build strength that shows up as braking, rotation, and single leg stability, not as bigger numbers on a bar. Train movement like a top priority because the cage rewards the player who can stop, read the wall, and redirect cleanly. Make prehab and recovery a daily non-negotiable, and keep nutrition timed, simple, and personal.